Hello, everyone. I have the one and only Daniel Murray. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to bring you on mainly because of our experience, working together. I know you put something on LinkedIn as a LinkedIn post talking about, hey, you have slots open, for 2 weeks straight for people that want to level up their LinkedIn game. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally down for that. Why not? I'm totally down for that. I want to do it. I'm already, on LinkedIn, posting consistently, as you know, providing WordPress website development, design, maintenance for my own agency. And I'm always looking for ways to learn and grow. And I've already been liking your content. So I want to give this feedback, right? Because I'm sure people that have you on their podcasts are like, give me all these deep insights. Let me ask you all these things. Let me do all this. They're trying to get these golden nuggets, which I will. But I also want to provide you some encouraging feedback because as creators, we don't always get those positive signals as times. I've been following you for some time. And when I think of memes, I think of you, Daniel Murray. I used to think of Gary Vee. I used to think of screenshots as Gary Vee, and he probably still does. But I think of you more as modern, more active in regards to the screenshots with the Twitter and everything. I'm not saying Gary Vee's old and dated. I'm just saying it reminds me of that style. And, kudos to you and for everything that you're doing because I love the marketing millennials, epic title too. I'm a millennial myself, but there's humor to it. And as a marketer, we're both marketers. I really resonated with a lot of the stuff. And I feel like it brought a smile, a good laugh when I'm going through a LinkedIn feed. And a lot of that stuff doesn't bring, laughter, humor when I'm looking in through the LinkedIn feed. I think people are stepping up their game and trying to be something what you've created. But then whenever you put that out there, hey, opportunity to work together for 2 weeks straight, I was like, sign me up. I felt like I know you, which is very common for creators to hear from their audience. But I also felt like you're a marketer and you get it. You're practicing what you're preaching. And yeah, I want to see what I can learn from you. And maybe I'm missing something. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and bring you on the show more than anything and provide you that positive feedback because it helps us as creators.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. It's funny because when I started going through my experience, it was trial and error. I didn't set out to be known as someone who says screenshots or someone who does memes, but I noticed that was a gap in the market that hasn't been filled yet, at least on LinkedIn. So I could be this, like most people, giving long page text posts but I think for me, I've come to realize that my LinkedIn approach is more like Costco. I like to call it Costco sampler approach. I'll give you a taste of some content. I'll give you something great, and then if you want to subscribe to my newsletter or listen to podcasts, that's when I'll give you more in depth. And that's how I think about social media now. But I think it's different for everybody, and I think my approach is not like the end all be all approach. I think it just like anything in marketing, you shouldn't just copy other people's approaches because it's working for them because you don't know what their goals are. And that's what a lot of people do. And you probably see it with websites as well. People copy websites because it's working for someone else. But at the end of the day, you should dissect what's working and then implement what works for your company and what doesn't work for your company. So that was a little bit of a...
Yeah, I think the learning lessons that some of it I was already doing, working with you 2 weeks straight. And I like the whole experience of the text message experience. At first I was like, what is this, a spam text? I didn't know who it was. And I was like, oh, it's Daniel Murray. Awesome. Marketing bestie. Here we go. Yeah. And we ended up, you helped me to understand what's the goal. And I think as marketers or creators, we can always forget that. What's the goal? Because we're trying to be everything to everyone. And that helped me because that's what I was struggling with. I was talking about websites. I was talking about my family here. I was talking about, I think you even mentioned, hey, you have a lot of great pictures about your family and everything like that, but let's narrow it down back to marketing. And I'm like, he's so right about this. I'm like, this is so hard to just stay focused and in my lane. But then also figuring out, hey, who's your ICP? And then figuring out, great, we're going to create content for your ICP. And then narrowing down what's your LinkedIn headline, right? Okay, let's start your headline with a solution first. Since, you're a business owner and you're providing, website services. And that was super helpful and refreshing. A lot of it was reassuring too. But stuff like that where I'm like, wow, these little tweaks, and even you looking at my LinkedIn profile and basically doing like an audit was very helpful, because a lot of times I can feel like I'm creating content, but I'm like, okay, I can always feel insecure. Am I hitting the right audience? Is my profile off when it comes to conversions? Like maybe I'm leaving some money on the table, or is my content just not having the right hooks? And even talking about that was also helpful. I remember we were talking about page builder for one of my LinkedIn posts. You're like, send me your post for today. I was like, all right, good thing I worked on my post for today, or else I would have been like scratching my head. And I did. And I think it was something along the lines of, your page builder should, : and you're like, it was something along the lines of like, you didn't say it was boring, but more like, yeah, we need to up that. Your first line should be very attractive.
My whole thing is like, a lot of people when they're doing LinkedIn posts, like they're talking like the audience understands what like they are thinking. So
exactly.
Like page builder to you is like not like a simple term, like you use it every single day and everything like that. But to me, like even for me, like I'm a marketer, I know what a page builder is, but I don't do it every day, so I don't know like the ins and outs. Like something like that will spark my attention first and then go deeper is always a way. And people just forget that, like, to simplify it for a more broader audience. Like I always like to say like this. There's two types of LinkedIn posts out there. There's LinkedIn posts that you're going to give a keynote, and that's more broad. And then there's LinkedIn posts that you would give it like in a mastermind group, like to a small audience. And a lot of people want to grow on LinkedIn, and they're like giving mastermind posts all the time, which is good. You'll grow slowly. But if your goal is to grow faster, you have to simplify it for a more broad audience to understand what you're saying. And that's like in a keynote. In a keynote, you have to say things in a more simpler way so a broader audience would understand what you're doing. And that's why I think a lot of people, and also like, I don't know, another thing on the hook part of it is, I think a lot of people forget that the first line and the second line of content, or especially the first line, they spend hours working on like the piece, but they don't forget that like, if nobody's going to stop and read it, it doesn't matter.
Right. And that was me. I focus more on the meat of my post. But I'm not focusing on that first, second, third line.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my good friends, Trung. He's on Twitter, but he always says like when he starts pieces, he thinks of like what the hook first, and then he writes the piece instead of writing the piece and then writing the hook. Because if you figure out what's a good hook and what could grab a user's attention, because it doesn't, like, a lot of people forget that like the best. Once you writing content's only half the battle. The second battle is getting the content read. So people forget to market their own content, and the way you market your content is eyeballs. Like, let's say email. The first thing you should be thinking about is like what's the subject line? Right. How can I get this email open before people could read it? On a website, the first thing you should focus on is like, what is your headline text that you're going to put on your website, and what is that image you're going to put to attract someone so they read more. A lot of people forget about like that. They just spend the time on all like this stuff in the middle, when like the first goal is to get someone to read that first line. If they're not interested, they're just going to scroll or leave your page or not open your email. So
that was a mindset shift for me, because I focus on the meat, and I put that meat on Google Documents, and then I would come back and I wouldn't put too much time on the first, second, or third line. I'm like, this is genius because I thought about it. But I'm not considering the audience in regards to, well, you got to reel them in. Like you got to maybe throw some stats, maybe throw a question, maybe a bold statement. Start from there. So that was super helpful for me. Thank you for that. That was super helpful. Another thing too that was helpful as a reminder was, who are the top influencers, in your niche, B2B marketing, B2B SaaS marketing, and then go into the comment section, who's liking, who's commenting, and engage with them. Send them a connection request, send them a short message, which is good, right? And I've done that before in the past, but I stopped doing it. The reason why I stopped doing it is, well, LinkedIn is cracking down. I don't want to get into LinkedIn jail. That was my excuse to not do it again. I'm just going to post organically and just let the followers come to me. If I build it, they'll come type mindset. But that was a good reminder, kind of like, wow, I stopped doing that. And that was so helpful because I remember when I started doing that, and you were even one of my guys that I would actually go into the LinkedIn comment section and I would send people, B2B marketers, I would send them a short connection request and saying, hey, I noticed we both follow Daniel Murray. Full transparency. We both follow Daniel Murray. Would love to connect with you here on LinkedIn. Accept instantly. Because we're both following you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the people forget that, the reason why that strategy works when you're starting out is because when you start connecting with people who are commenting on other marketers, it means that they're probably going to be interested in a topic that you're talking about, and they're active on LinkedIn and they're liking other people's posts. If you just connect with random people in your ICP, they might not be using LinkedIn. They might just be someone who has a LinkedIn profile. So it's better to be connecting with people who are that. And then also, what I used to do at the beginning is I would connect with people and be like, hey, we're both in we both marketing. I look forward to seeing your content in my feed. I just want to be able to see it in my feed. So I'm sending you this request. And then I did that. And then your next job, once you've done that, is just put out that content consistently, right, so they end up seeing it. So that's the part where people forget too, is one is getting people to be a connection, and two, every post that you put out there, at the end of the day, should be relevant to the audience you're connecting to, and be somewhat, Ross Simmons says this, I say this too sometimes, it's if your post doesn't educate, entertain, inform, inspire, go back to the drawing board and make sure it hits one of those, because emotionally, that's going to cause emotion. If you educate someone, they're like, oh, I learned something. If you inspire someone, they get some sort of emotion, oh, I'm going to go do something. If it's actionable, they go take action. They're doing something off of your content. If your content is just there. And the second thing, going back to what you're talking about before, is that when you're writing posts, your whole purpose, if you're writing on LinkedIn, is to get an audience to read it. It's not to write a diary. A lot of people write posts they think they're writing. They're oh, this is the greatest post in the world. People forget that they're writing for an audience, and even if you think that's the best post in the world, but do people actually care about that topic right now in stuff? I like to call that content market fit, kind of product market fit, but content market fit. Does that content fit the market, which is LinkedIn right now? And a lot of people just say oh, this is a cool post, everybody's gonna like it, but that's not true. If you haven't not been in, that's why I say go into comments, see what people are asking questions about, write content on that. Go look at your comments, see what they're asking, write content on that. Because if someone's asking a question and you see it multiple times, they're probably going to like your post. A lot of people just put out stuff. Obviously, if you're a thought leader and you can put out great stuff, but it's going to work. But Justin Welsh, what he does is he nails down that first, second, third line, so you get to read it, and then nails down the meat. He has a structure for every post. It's like
That's true.
a
I read
system.
his from beginning to end.
Yeah, he methodically does that. So like he writes good content, but he has a structure. He knows like the first, second, third line is so important.
Right.
Then the meat's so important. Then is there something at the end to like either cause someone to engage, click a CTA, do some sort of action? Like, is there something to cause action? And he knows that, and he does it in every single post. So it becomes a system after a while. Once you've done it a lot of times, you just have to remember, like, write the first line, then do the meat, then that's enough of my little rant.
No, that's good. I think a lot of it too that I learned was the first 3 lines, like, is super important. I would say top, and then consistency is second. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would say that's the majority of what the LinkedIn, next level is. When it comes to everything else, I felt like it was more like, okay, the engagement, all these other things that are super important too. But I mean, that's the way outside. Do you see it that way too, or do you see it differently?
I see it in 3 different ways. I say, like, I know a lot of people blame the algorithm for their content not working well. And to be honest, the algorithm is your audience. So if your content is not performing well, it's probably because your audience doesn't like your content. And like that, it's a bluntly like saying statement. That's probably why. And even if someone's posting a tweet and they're liking it, you should figure out why they're liking the tweet. Like LinkedIn is incentivized to push out content that people like. Like that's what they're incentivized to do, to keep people on the back. YouTube is incentivized to push out videos that people will watch. Like the number one thing, that's why I said see more. Like, for example, like the first 3 lines are so important because it gets someone to spend time on your post. So like the first thing is like, are people clicking through on my post? That's a click through. How long is someone spending on my post? How are they engaging in my post? Are they sharing my post? Like those are things you got to think about. And then the second thing, like what I think, like consistency beats anybody in this game because you win the battle of being top of mind. And that's what marketing is. It's like marketing is staying top of mind. So if you're consistent, nobody's going to remember your 42nd post or your 83rd post or your 22nd post, but they'll remember that you showed up every single day in the feed and that you gave them something special, or you gave them emotional, or you helped them in their career, or you did something. They might not remember every single post, but they remember you showed up every single day. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast that you know me for posting memes. The only reason you know me for posting memes is because I do it every single day. Like if I was just posted once every month, you would probably never know I posted memes. So
it was a top of mind strategy that connected me. So whenever you're ready to talk about, hey, I'm doing a program or a course where I'm helping people with leveling up their LinkedIn game, I was like, yeah, no brainer, dude. I've been following you for a while.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing what people don't get is like the game. It's all goals, and I think we talked about this earlier, but it's all goals. Like my goal is to get someone to know who I am, enough people to know who I am, to then convert them into a podcast or a newsletter reader and get more content, and then eventually hang out with me on text messages, or eventually buy, like say if I start a company one day, they'll buy my product or something like that. But my first goal, but your goal, like some other people's goals are to show that they don't have a middle funnel. So their middle funnel is LinkedIn. So they have to show expertise in their post on LinkedIn, but they needed to, and that's why they do in-depth posts. So that's their strategy. Some other people's strategy is like, people don't know who the hell I am. So how do I get people to know who I am? I have to do things to grab attention first. Once I grab more attention, now I can do more in-depth posts. So like everybody has a different goal. And that's what people forget is like, some people's goals are just to keep you top of mind. Like they're not like, and some people's goals are to show you that they're an expert right now. And you just have to, everybody has different goals. And I think and some people's goals are to get more clients, and some people's goals is to get more newsletter services, or some people's goals is to get more speaking engagement. Some people's goals is just to be known. Like everybody has different goals.
No, that's good. Even funnel. Are we doing top of funnel, middle, bottom? Those are also good ways to think about it. Is that the way you think about it whenever you're asking your customers about goals?
Yeah, I think about it in a couple ways. I think about like one, who do you like, your career aside, your business aside, like if you wanted to go walk in a room like 5 years from now, like do you want to be known as like the website guy, or do you want to be known as like the marketing ops person? Do you want to be known as the marketing guy? Do you want to be known as like the insurance guy? Who do you want to be known for? Like, and what expertise are you bringing to the world? So like when an opportunity presents themselves in the world, like
Right.
they think about you. If they think about who is the best internet website person, they think you. Like they don't think about it. Like, and you're not in the room right now. Someone's networking for you. That's what like. So the first thing is like what do you want to be known for? Second is like what is your end goal with LinkedIn? Is it to get more clients? Is it to get more newsletter subscribers? Is it to get more followers? Is it to get more attention? Is it to get speaking gigs? Like what is your goal on LinkedIn? Because depending on what your goal is, I would do a different approach to LinkedIn. My goal is to get more attention so people can go listen to my podcast and listen to my newsletter. That's why I do my strategy, because it works, it gets attention. But if my goal was to like get clients and I didn't have a newsletter and I didn't have a podcast and I didn't have these other channels that I can push people to, I would show in-depth things on LinkedIn and then use LinkedIn as a source to funnel things, just how Chris Walker has done for a long time. Like he uses LinkedIn as his like middle of the funnel to get more clients. Right. So like, yeah, the goal is the important too. And then the last thing is like how are you like, my last thing I ask people is like, are you really like committed to doing this? Like, are you really like, do you really like creating content or not? Because like for some people, like as much as I say like creating content is a great thing, it's a hard game and a lot of people don't want to do it. Like it's even like working out, like some people want to lose weight, but they don't want to like work out and eat healthy. Like you got to like set the mindset like, hey, I want to go like eat in a calorie deficit and then go work out. And like, let's say I'm training for a marathon, like you can't just go run the first day and run the marathon. You have to have this step-by-step consistency to do it. And if you're not willing to do that, so that's why I say like, are you even like passionate about your topic? So I get down to like the inevitable truths that they care about. So for example, like I really think that B2B social media sucks. So like my content, like that's why I like doing memes and stuff like that to show like you can stand out in B2B even if you aren't. So I stick to a truth that I care about, and that helps me create content every day because it's something that I can die on a hill and say that I think this is the truth in my industry. If you don't have that backing, it's hard to write content every single day around that.
To simplify what you're saying is basically it's the why behind what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say like the first thing is like who you want to be known for, like why, like what is something that makes you different and that you care about a lot, that you could, a position that you care about, that people will know you for that position. And then like, what is your, like what the goal, like what are you trying to achieve here? Yes or no? Like, are you trying to achieve more customers? Are you trying to achieve more attention? Are you trying to achieve more followers? But I do think the problem also in social media is this, what people forget is like, you can't say like social media is just like, when you start social media, your first goal is to get more customers. The reason why is like, you have to get, your first goal should be like, hey, I should need to grow my audience of my ICP on this channel first. Once I grow my audience, let me figure out the next goal of getting customers. Because if you think your only goal of social media is to get customers, you start doing bad behavior and transactional. Like social media is supposed to be social. Yeah, exactly. So that's why people forget, like first goal is to grow followers. Second goal is to like separate the goals. And that's why a lot of people, B2B companies mess up too, because their goal is like, we don't do social media because they don't get us leads. But the first goal is like, how could I, like, to see if you're successful in social media is, do I have an audience? Do I have a followers? And the only way to know you're successful in social media when you're starting is my follower count growing? And am I getting engagement on my posts? Yes or no? And is the engagement coming from my ICP? The next thing you can figure out after that is, like, is the ICP that I am getting following me, are they becoming true fans that they will convert? So you're taking attention to intention. Attention is like you're gaining attention of yourself. Intention is like, are they willing to buy a product? Are they willing to work with you? Are they willing to come to an event you set up? Are they willing? So you take attention, and then now you're moving into intention. But it takes time to convert attention to intention, because the intention part is trust, and trust comes from expertise, consistency, education, showing them that you are a thought leader.
Yeah, I like the consistency in education, because that was also another thing I learned from working with you, was I should be posting more about website tips, website tutorials, like very specific, that is helping my audience. And that in itself would be like, oh, this is the guy who's the industry expert. This is the guy who knows who he's talking about. And just that shift really helped me in the way I think about content creation.
Yeah, and I also think, like, how you frame it too. Like, I think a lot of times, like, you want to be known as the website person, but then you also need to, like, start framing it into who the buyer is of the website. So you can't only, like, create, like, website content, because usually, like, the people who care about website content are the people who are other website people, and that usually isn't your buyer. A lot of
it's like tailoring it for your ICP instead of talking
like,
about it for a web developer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so, like, what I would think about if I was writing, I have a website, like, I would start creating content that's about, like, let's say if I'm trying to do founders, like, this is the reason why it's so important to have a great website for your company. This is the reason why, like, you should invest in websites. Like, this is the reason why, like, having a good pricing page will help you convert more. What do they care about? And you do that, not like, make sure you update your, like convert, like, your JavaScript to X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Yeah, web developers will.
Like for B2B SaaS marketers, which is my ICP, what they care about is, how do we increase demo requests for the website? All right, here are 4 steps to increase demo requests for your website. So it's very specific, and it's exactly what they want to hear about, compared to, here's how to optimize your website. Here's how to add SEO keywords or something around the website. Here's how to update your plugins. Like, that sounds more technical and more for developers. So that's right in line.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot of mistakes too, is like, a lot of people, like, they say, I'm posting great content about, like, my like niche, like
all creators think they're posting great content.
Yeah, that's true too. Like they think I'm posting great content, and they're like, I'm not growing my followers. I'm like, you probably are, but your niche is just, like, very small, and you have raving fans in that or, like, you're posting something so specific that only people in that niche will get that. Nobody else in, like, the second sphere or the third sphere, or someone that might care about it will care. That's why I don't really believe in funnels that much, because how people buy are very differently. But I do believe that there are people are in different stages of, like, of how they know about your product. And, like, to know about websites, like, there are some people that need to be informed, like, websites actually exist. Those are some people. And then there's some people who need to know, like, why websites are important. And then there's people in the bottom of the funnel that are about to buy that need to know, like, why I need to invest in this for my company. But, like, a lot of people think about the bottom of the funnel, and their content is just meant for, like, people who actually have the pain right now, actually know what you're talking about, actually know it. But they don't think about the people who might care about it one day, or might have a friend that cares about it, or might have or might sense. Like, sometimes I read posts and be like, I'm not a event marketer, but I have an event marketer friend, and I'm going to send them because I think it's a cool post about event marketing.
Or even sometimes I'll read it and I'm like, I didn't even know I had a problem like that.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah,
gotta
exactly.
I gotta go look at what I'm doing and revisit this. It starts making me like problem aware.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only way to do that is simplify it into like the simplest forms. Because if you go super technical, you're just talking to that one technical person that you're trying to convey messages to. Like if you do it for a broader audience, there's always a way to take something super technical and make it less technical. And that just proves that you know the topic very well. Like if you could take something
You
and
help me with
describe
that too. You're like, so how would you describe a page builder? And I'm like, geez, even I have to think through this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because like I think like for you, it comes off so easily, but like when you like dissect it in your head, then you're just like, oh, okay, this is what it does. This is the functions. This is what
Right.
it actually like. And then you think about like, oh, what like. Okay, a page builder. What is the benefits of a page builder? Okay,
Yeah.
now I know the benefits of a page builder. Now let me put that up front and say this is the benefits, and then say like, oh, the way to solve this benefit. Oh yeah, a page builder. A page builder does this, 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 and this, and this.
Right. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm getting my wife to like proofread it. Be like, hey, is this like broken down enough or no?
That's a smart way to do it. Get someone who doesn't know the topic to read over. That's why like a lot of my content I try make it so simple that like someone coming out of college could understand it, marketing to someone who's like a VP, but really I care about people younger. That's why I don't really care if someone who's like a VP of marketing says like, oh, that's too simple. And I'm like, yeah, it's simple to you because you're a VP of marketing. It's not simple to someone who's coming out of the career today and trying to learn. So you might not be my audience. Like it's okay. But like my audience is these people who might have not known that before, or it might have sparked something in their mind to like start learning that. Like that's my audience.
And how do you get, I mean, other than LinkedIn and seeing what's in the comments and how people are engaging, how do you nail down your audience, you know, what they like hearing? Or is it all just LinkedIn signals that you see?
No, it's like podcasts, like having conversation with people. It's reading replies and emails. It's common questions I get. It's going on to like popular marketing accounts and seeing what questions they ask. It's going to like the top Google searches and seeing like what are people asking. It's going to Quora. And it's also like just listening. I think a lot of people need to stay back and just be like, what are people talking about? What topics are relevant
People
right
guess.
now?
People guess a lot.
Exactly. And I think that's because I always say this, and this is the tip I give, but people are just like, you have to consume content to create great content. You have to consume great content, and you have to consume a lot of content, because like that's why like a lot of people come on LinkedIn, they try to do their first post and they don't know why it works, but they've never spent time consuming other people's contents that have worked and seen why it works. They just post. It's like going into your like day one of like Spanish class in high school and you only speak English, and then trying to go to like Mexico and try to speak with like the locals. Like they're gonna be like, yeah, this is your first time speaking Spanish. Like,
right.
I know that. I could tell that's your first, because you haven't even attempted to like learn our language. So why should we like give you the time of day to talk? And that's the same thing as like social media. Like if you like learn the platform, learn what they're doing, learn what ticks people, what works, what doesn't, the format that works, what doesn't work, what they care about, what they don't care about. And then like that's the same thing. If you deeply learn Spanish and you talk to locals and you understand like the slang words they use, and they don't use this grammar in this sentence, and they use the grammar in this sentence, and in Mexico they use this, and in Spain they use this, like, and there's a difference, and then culturally this words mean this and this, and then you go speak, they're going to be like, oh, okay, this person took time to like learn our language, learn our culture, learn why it works. And that's the same thing in social media, and people forget like every platform has a language.
Right.
And what ticks human beings works on a lot of platforms is just how you frame it in other platforms. It's how you contextualize it on a platform. Like the words still carry meaning. It's just how you express it on the platform and how you package it together.
Totally. How are we doing on time? I want to be considerate. I do have other questions, but I want to be very considerate.
I'm good.
Okay. So why not use LinkedIn Live for your podcast interviews?
I actually just started doing LinkedIn virtual series on the Marketing Millennials page.
Oh, really?
Now putting in I haven't used them for all podcasts because I think it's way easier to do a podcast interview on Riverside, which we're talking right now, because you can edit it down, you could take it. But I also think there is strength in that, and I've been testing that. You'll see more of it on the Marketing Millennials page next year. But I did 5 events this year, or 6 events this year on LinkedIn Live, and I saw some good success on it. And I think the way you interview on a LinkedIn Live is very different than the way you do, because you get distractions from the audience. You have to like bring in the audience. So I think there's a time and place for both. And I think probably like a quarter of my segments next year are going to be LinkedIn Live. And I think LinkedIn Live is a great tool.
And you can use Riverside for that?
No, I've been using AirMeet for it, and then I also sometimes use Restream for it. Okay.
I've heard StreamYard is pretty good.
Yeah, so it works pretty well. My thing is the reason why I like LinkedIn Live is not because like LinkedIn is the greatest platform. I just like giving content in different ways people can consume it. And one way, one way is like, some people like consuming podcasts, but I know I'm missing a whole tons of people who don't listen to my podcast, and some people want video and live interaction. So I try to give that some of it. So now like next year I'm going to do like segments of like, and also with LinkedIn Live, I think it needs to be like a little more structured than a podcast, because podcasts you can kind of rant on and talk. I
feel like you need like a third person to like handle the comment section or the chat section.
Exactly. So like it's actually, and it's a production, like it's a performance, which is different than, I feel podcast is like more conversational for me. So yeah, I mean, but I think LinkedIn Live is a great resource. I think video is a great resource to build like more customer, like not more customers, but more trust with your audience.
Totally. The reason why I haven't done LinkedIn Live is because I'm like, is the guest going to come through? That's one. And then second, I'm like, all right, no technical failures or anything. And then third, the comment section is going to blow up. I want to make sure people get, their questions answered. So you're right. It's a whole structure, agenda type thing. It's full production.
Yeah, because a guest can't reschedule when you have and you've announced it to like the whole world.
What do you show up solo episode or what?
Yeah. So like, it's very like, you have to commit to the process. But I think like, if you're going to do it, like I'm starting to like test ideas of doing like series based on a topic. Yeah. So like next year I'm going to do like 4 different series, and they go be about different topics. And then I'm going to bring on guests that are regarding those topics, instead of just having like random guests to talk about. I'm going to structure like this. If you want to learn about X topic, you can come to this series. If you want to learn about this topic, you can come to this series, and then make it more of like if you want to learn, like let's say if I did a social media series, I'll bring a LinkedIn expert, I'll bring a Twitter expert, I'll bring a TikTok expert, and I'll like, if you're interested in learning more about LinkedIn, you can learn about LinkedIn, and then I'll package it up and make a podcast for more people to listen to. And then
I like that.
So
I like that. I wrote it down. I didn't know that you were doing LinkedIn Live from the Marketing Millennial, so I'm going to follow that.
Yeah, I just started. I have an event on December 14th, but like next year I'm going to do it. I also did a series about content marketing legends. I had like Ross Simmons on. I had Devin Reed on. I had Ann Handley on. I had Morgan Ingram on. So like I did a series on like just how to create great content. So like that's like an example of a series. But I'm going to start doing like one like 6 or 7 part series a quarter once a week.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I was full transparency too. Like even before this, I'm like, wait a minute, he's on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Let's go LinkedIn Live. But then I got afraid because I was like, I'm not ready for this. I was like, I'm not ready for LinkedIn Live right now.
It's actually not as scary as you think it is. It scared me at first because it's very like broadcasting to a lot of people. But I think the thing that changes with LinkedIn Live is if you just think of it still, like I still go in the mentality that it's a podcast and I'm talking to the guest. I just try to bring in the audience, and it's actually easier because I don't see anybody. So like I'm just looking at my guests. Yeah. I don't see anybody. I just see comments flooding in.
Yeah.
And now that I've started doing it a couple of times, the first thing I do is I preface that like, hey, the first like 30 minutes is going to be chatting with this person, and the next 15 minutes is any Q&A. So like we'll answer questions at the end. So when you're ready, we'll ask questions at the end. So
yeah, that's cool. I remember a while back I did a LinkedIn poll when polls were very popular, and I asked, hey, if I was to do a live podcast interviews, what would it be? And it was Zoom, LinkedIn, and all these other ones. And it surprised me that Zoom was number one. I think people, just because of the pandemic, were used to Zoom. Everyone started buying Zoom during the pandemic. But I'm curious to know if that probably has changed yet. Just something that came to my mind. Another question that I had.
But also what people don't get is like I think you could probably do the same thing as like you have. I think you can like take a restream and do Zoom and do LinkedIn Live at the same time, so you can just hit both audiences at the same time if you're going to do like so a lot of people forget that.
That's true. There's technology out there that can do that.
Exactly.
Multiple platforms.
Yeah, that's how I think about it. It's like that's the only reason why I'm starting to do LinkedIn Live, because I think also like I'm very big on like repurposing content. So like LinkedIn Live is for one audience, and then I take that LinkedIn Live and make it a podcast. That's another audience. And then I take the podcast and clip it up into small clips, and now we're going to start putting it on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. That's another audience. And then and then that podcast becomes a newsletter send. So now I have a newsletter send. So it's like it becomes
that. Yeah. You use all of it.
Like all of it for like different.
Do you push people to the podcast specifically then? Whenever they like, if I see a short snippet on LinkedIn, do you put in the comments section? No? Okay.
I think people inherently, if you have good content, they will like say, oh, I want to hear more of this. And like, they'll realize it's a podcast because we're talking like we're on a podcast, and they'll go look for your podcast. They'll go to your profile, they'll see your podcast, and then go look for it. I think inherently, like if you have good content, people find things that you're doing. So I think like, that's also a mistake a lot of people make too, is like everything doesn't have to be promotional. Like I think like the reason you're doing it, the reason why you're creating content is to create value for your audience. And like, like if they find it in like the Costco sampler, the short form clips are just like little Costco samplers to get people to do the next thing for you, and that's listen to your podcast. And if they hear something interesting and they want to hear more, that's what a full podcast is for. Like
they'll know you have a podcast. Basically, they're smart.
Exactly. You're just so they'll follow you if you have an audience, they'll follow you.
Yeah, especially if they're loyal listeners too. So my other question was, I know for your LinkedIn content, it's been text only, images, right? Are you going to start incorporating videos from the podcast on there?
That's a great question.
Or videos not like one of those top type of content that works best for LinkedIn?
No, I think it does. I always tell people that like invest in the format that you do best. And what I do best is image and text. And I think like video is not my strongest suit. So I admit that to myself. Gotcha. I think I'll eventually like post podcast clips to LinkedIn. But for me, what's working on LinkedIn is text and imagery because I can get my message across better. Like, but someone like Morgan Ingram, who's very good at video, like he doubles down on it and he does very like Chris Walker, very good at it. And there's some other people that are very good at it. And I totally believe like they should invest in it because they're good in it. But a lot of time, like video is not the right format for that person.
I see.
Text is not the best
More
format.
preference.
Like Gary Vee is very good at video, and he admits out front that he is bad at text, and he has ghostwriters to do that for him. That's why he has.
I hate writing. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They're like, "Oh, your LinkedIn posts are great." I was like, "Yeah, but I hate doing it." I was like, I'm getting better at it. That's why I do a lot of videos, because I can just talk on the spot. Boom. I don't have to think about and write it out and all that.
Yeah, but that's why, like, if you do videos and then you have a good writer take this video right now,
right,
and take a segment and write a post for you, then you
totally
have a post that is ready. So, like, that's why it's like
it's that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it's like do what you're best at. Like everybody forgets, like double down on your strengths and let other people take your weaknesses on for you. My strengths is I would say is like images and text. So I double down that video is not my strength. That's why like when I'm doing my podcast clips, it's going to be mostly my guests because my guests are very good at like being forward facing. And also video is just not my format. So I don't like it that much. And I think I might in 2 years think it's my format, but like I know how to make a clip go off on video because I know what makes a great video. I'm just not that person who wants to be on video. So
that makes sense. Do whatever you're better at. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just curious. Now, a lot of people want engagement, right? This last question and then two more questions and then I'm done. So I'll go fast. This second to last. A lot of people want engagement, but what I see on their posts is thoughts, ? What do you guys think, ? A lot of times I feel like it's forced, but maybe that's good. Maybe that helps them to get engagement. What are good ways to get people engaged? Maybe you don't ask a question. Maybe people just already know that they're going to engage with the content if the content's that good.
Are you engagement? You meaning commenting or engagement?
Commenting.
Okay. I'm not anti people saying like thoughts and stuff like that because it's just like I think thoughts works if you have a thought provoking post and you want to get someone's thoughts. You say thoughts. It's not if you say like are cheeseburgers better than like this. That's not that like it's an easy way to get engagement, but it's like kind of engage. Is cheeseburgers better than regular burgers without cheese? But like if you say something thought provoking, I don't think. But I think some ways to do it is like ask questions that are simple that are not hard for people to think about when you're asking a question. Like if you have something too depth, then it takes them a long time to respond, and people don't have that much time on your feed to spend on your post to respond. So that's why thoughts I think works, and what would you add works because it's so quick that people could just go like, oh, my thoughts. Okay, I'll give you my thoughts. What would you add? Okay, I'll give you what you would add. I think sometimes it does. You don't need that in every post though. That's what people don't get. Is like sometimes your post like should create thought-provoking thoughts because it's like, or like it's so controversial or it's so inspiring that people just be like, oh, this is a great post, or like this is nice, this whole like I resonated with this or something. Something just causes people to do that. I do think like if you have something that if you genuinely want, like I think my whole thing is like if you genuinely want, if you're gonna put thoughts out there or what would you add, like you have to like be willing to and like respond to those people, and that's why for me like I've gotten, and I'll admit that I've gotten bad at responding to comments because it just gets overwhelming. I'm trying to not spend so much on social because I have a newsletter and a podcast. So, but like that's why I don't want to like say what would you add too much, because then it's like if someone's going to give me 2 seconds, I got to give them 2 seconds, and then I feel terrible if I can't give them 2 seconds. So like I think you have to be genuine when you're asking for someone to give you their thoughts.
Right.
So
that makes sense. Last question. Any tips or advice for B2B marketers on how to level up their LinkedIn game? It can be something we talked about and maybe you want to emphasize. It could be something that maybe you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, for B2B market. I think make your content everything about your audience and nothing about like what you, not nothing but you care, but nothing about like what you think you care about. Like make it everything that they care about. And that's how you will win on social. Like I said earlier, and Mr. B said this, like the algorithm equals audience. Like the reason why things work is because like the reason why things go viral is because the audience cares about that topic. And you might think it's a dumb post, or you might think it's not that smart, or you might think, but a lot of other people think it's a good post, and a lot of other people are getting thought-provoking stuff out of it. So if you're doing something, make sure you are actually knowing what your audience cares about. Spend time learning what they care about. Spend time asking questions. Spend time reading comments, and then you'll figure out what content to create. And there's a lot of content out there to be created. And also another thing that I've learned lately that I learned from someone recently, and it kind of hit me a lot, is that like just because you need to be consistent doesn't mean like you should put out another post. Like if your post doesn't have a good like hook and it doesn't have a good like meat, or it doesn't provide value, like then it's just like negative signaling in the market. You're just showing that like you're turning some people off of you, and that's as bad as like positive signaling. Like, I mean, positive signaling is good, but like negative signaling, if you have too much negative signal in the market, people just stop following you and tune out. That's the same thing as like why niche works. Is like if you post about your niche and then you start posting about wild other things, that's negative signaling to your audience that you're not posting about what they care about, and they tune out. So like you sometimes like posting. When you post something, you have to think to yourself, like, is it adding value, or is it like just some noise I'm adding to like the world?
Right, just for the sake of being consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Well, hey, Daniel, I appreciate your time, and always good talking to you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me, and this has been fun. And next time you need to do LinkedIn Live.
Let's do it. LinkedIn Live. I want to see it in your post in my feed.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see December 14th. I have LinkedIn Live, so you can see that I'm doing it, even though I'm kind of uncomfortable with LinkedIn Lives, but I'm still going to go out there.
Hey, I know there's a lot of value from it. I know I heard it from Chris Walker and from a lot of other people that it's like 10x your trust, and people get to see your character, your personality, everything like that. So I think you're going in the right direction, to be real with you.
And your expertise. Like, I think also like what I've known from what I've seen firsthand is like when you're on video, people recognize you more in public. Like they recognize your face. Like when you're not, like for me, like it's funny because me and Morgan Ingram went to a conference once, and a lot of people were coming up to him and saying, "Oh, I know you," and that's because he does video. And they looked at me and they're like, "Oh, marketing millennials. Oh, that's who you are." Like, because I don't go on video, so that's like the benefit of video is like people know like sometimes that I'm doing this, but they just don't they don't recognize me because I'm not on video as much as like video actually works very well.
It's good, yeah. Because sometimes I would even get the people that will look at my LinkedIn content. They'll go book a discovery call. Since we're a small business, guess who they're talking to? Me. So then when we get on there, they're like, "Oh, dude, I just saw your video on LinkedIn. That's why I reached out." So it's crazy because now they're like in a discovery call with me. And then even on AMAs, they're like, "Hey, do you wear the same black shirt all the time?" Because that's my attire, you know? I was like, "No, I wash it. I washed my shirts."
It's hilarious.
It's super hilarious. But yeah, it's me. Dad hat and black T-shirt.
Yeah, that's why it's okay. It's okay to show like
familiarize.
Yeah, it's okay. But like, yeah, for me, like, I think, yeah, that's why like LinkedIn Lives have been good for me. But I also think that like sometimes I don't like being recognized in public. So it's like good for me to like kind of be. That's why I started the Marketing Millennials a little bit, so I can kind of be behind the scenes doing fun stuff for marketer. But some people love it, so that's why video is a great medium for them.
Awesome. And are you still doing that program? I call it a program. I forget what it is, but the 2-week sprint?
I'm doing it this month. I actually just got like a new texting platform because before it was just like hard to text people on there because it was not on my phone. I had to go on my computer to text everybody. Now I have like a whole thing that I can actually like have a conversation with people. So like
You got to insert that. You got to insert that.
Yeah. If you want to go to marketingbesties.com, that's where it is. It's actually testing. It's actually an MVP product. So you just know it's an MVP. I want to eventually do like a coaching product where I bring on a lot of other marketers to like be able to text other people. Like if you want to learn content marketing, you could text us. But yeah, so it's kind of like a test run for me. But I know LinkedIn, so like it's a good like way to like use my audience to test it. But it's been fun. It's fun to text people and see what they're learning and see what they trust. And text is like way more personal.
It's more effective on getting a response back. That's for sure.
LinkedIn DMs and emails are hard for me now. It's just
so hard.
There's too many emails out there, and it's not because like I don't check my emails, because like there's so many of them that it's like just hard to get to so many emails. And then usually 99% of them are spam emails. They're not like people that I should actually know. So.
Oh, I have a question for you. Sorry, last one. Now that I think about it, you're really good at repurposing content. Everything that I have is in a Google document. Like, is there any other way to do it, or do you have your own like platform on how to repurpose content?
No, I think like what the best way to repurpose content is put it out in the world, see what works, take with the winners, and repurpose the winners. Like that's the best way to repurpose content. Like that's the problem a lot of people make with even this is like the Twitter screenshot problem people do. They take screenshots and they like, why? Oh, it's not working for me. It's because the only screenshots I ever post on Twitter of my screenshots are ones that have been proven to work on Twitter. Like I don't post.
It makes sense. If you're experimenting, and if it succeeds, move it on.
Exactly. So like it's like ads. Like you only repeat your winners until they stop working.
Boom. That's good.
Yeah. So
I mean, I would never do an ad without testing.
Yeah, and I repeat my winners. Like I'll post the same post 20 times in a year, and people will still always get the same amount of engagement, the same amount of comments, and people will forget I posted it. And that's what people don't get. Like I will post the same thing 20 times, and also like people forget that like as new people join your audience, they didn't hear that message. So like sometimes your message is for the new people who came into your audience to remind them that's what you care about. So like you don't have to come up with new pieces of content all the time. Like sometimes it's just to like show your audience that you care about that topic again and again and again.
Yeah. Well, hey man, you're awesome. This was great, and we're definitely going to do a LinkedIn Live. I don't know when, but we're going to definitely do one.
Well, once you get started, let me know, and we can go on.
For sure, man. All right. Well, you have a great day.
Talk
later.